Hello and welcome to Random Fandom FC, the podcast dedicated to understanding how fans found their teams, fell in love with them, what's been their highest high, their lowest lows, and anything else we should know. We'll also talk about some of their favourite players from yesteryear, take a look at the current squad, and then predict the next upcoming game. Next week we'll do a match report, then we'll rinse and repeat all again and just see how many teams around the world we can cover. My name's Rob, an Arsenal fan living in the States, and I'll be your host. Okay, before we get on to this week's guest, we have to do a match report from last week. We had Dave on, or as he referred to himself, Eeyore, because he's so negative about Spurs. And he was going to the game, and he predicted that Spurs were going to lose at home 2-0 to Southampton. I, on the other hand, predicted a 3-1 victory for Spurs, as I felt that even as Spursy as they can be at the moment, they're definitely going to see off Southampton. Well, not to brag, I was right. 3-1 win. Brendan Johnson got a couple. I felt a bit sorry for him. Denied his hat trick when a penalty got given in the 96th minute, but Tell decided he want that one and slotted it away. A little bit of a nervous moment in the 90th minute when Fernandes pulled one back for Southampton, but as they have been all season, they were put away with ease, really. They're the earliest team to get relegated. Now all they can do is try and avoid the lowest points total ever. I think they need to get one more point to equal Derby's record of 11, and if they can pick up another couple, they can at least go down without the lowest points record ever. Right, let's take a look and see who we've got on this week, and it's a little bit of a special one, if I'm honest. Who are you and who do you support?
My name is Renato, and I support Club Universitario de Deportes.
That is just amazing because I started this podcast to see how many clubs I could talk to fans of, and I'd got this little idea that I didn't just want to stick to the English clubs. I was hoping it would grow and we would go overseas. So just for people that aren't aware of, it's Universitario, right? The short name for the club.
Well, the much shorter name would be La U. That way, the U basically. That way, you're not pronouncing the whole name, which is a bit too long.
La U, okay. Tell everybody, where are they based? What country do they play their football in?
Universitario is from Lima, Peru. Lima is the capital of the country of Peru.
So, how long have you been a fan and how did you kind of find them as your team?
So I'm currently 38, almost 39, and I've been supporting them, I want to say, since I turned 6, 7 years old, back in the in the late 80s, early 90s, when I started to get a grasp of what football is. It was interesting because part of my family supports Alianza Lima, which is our main rival, which we're going to talk about them at some point, unfortunately, but we have to. And the other part, the majority, including my grandfather, then some uncles, some aunts, they were supporting Universitario. So I think they were trying to play a little bit of a tug of war. It's like, who is he going to support? And I did more leaning towards Universitario because number one, I like the kids. Number two, most of my friends at that point also I was hanging around mostly these Universitario supporters. So that made the choice a bit easier, I want to say.
So you say you like the kit. As I was doing some research into this, I want to know if you validate this story that I found. But the team used to play in white kits with the U badge in the center, which is red. And they sent the kits to be washed one week, and they needed to get them back quickly for a game, and they rushed the laundry service to finish them, and they forgot to take the badge off the front, and the red of the badge bled into the shirts and became an off-white color, a cream color. And I believe your other nickname is it Los Cremas?
Yes, that's correct. So number one, that story is 100% accurate. Our kit came from basically a mistake. It was supposed to be white, but because of the story you just mentioned, it went to the laundromat. They were rushing it, and then by discoloring it, they came out with like cream colored kits, which is what we still use to this day, and which is what they have right now.
And what I love about that is that most sports fans, and I think especially football fans, have got these ridiculous superstitions around things. And apparently, because you went on and won a few games after you got this miscolored kit, they just thought, well, it's a lucky kit. We'll keep it forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we just decided to stick with it, and to this day, we haven't switched colors. I mean, the only ones that we switch are the away kits. I mean, that they tend to be black or a darker shade of gray, of red. But it's all the home kit is always going to be cream.
And I think they've been in the top flight since 1928 and never relegated from the top tier of Peruvian football.
That's right. So we just celebrated our 100th anniversary last year, 2024. We were founded in 1924 by a group of students from a university in Lima. Hence the name Universitario basically means like a team of university students. That's where the name came from. And ever since we won 28 titles, which is the most titles of any team in the country in the history of the league, even though once again, Alianza Lima is going to dispute that number for multiple reasons, but it's officially 28 titles. We've never been relegated. We were close at a few points in history of going down into second division, but to this day, we've never been relegated, and that's one thing we always brag about. That's one of our things that we have to brag about, that we've always been in the top flight.
Uh, awesome. So, okay, let's get this bit out of the way. This is always the part that brings the heartbreak to the episode. Um, Along your way, then, what's been the lowest low supporting Lau?
So that's probably not too long ago. That was in the 2010s, around 2015. I want to say 2015, 2014, we were in a really dire financial situation, which we kind of still are, but we're finally getting back on track. But we were in a very dire financial situation. We have massive debts. We're like Barcelona, but without the financial backing that they have. Like basically spending a lot of money. We built this massive 80,000 people capacity stadium, which we're still playing now, which is one of the largest stadiums in South America. Then we had a couple of bad businessmen running the team, spending a lot of money, paying like investors, not getting returns. So the team was close to going bankrupt. And because we couldn't pay fees, the federation decided to start docking points basically like 1 or 2 seasons in a row. And one season we were basically like close to getting relegated. We secure top flight status for the next season, like 2 games before the end of the season. So I want to say that I was like literally sweating, like I was watching the games with my friends because like we need to. I can watch the games on my own. I need the moral support because this doesn't look good. So that's probably after that. Then we started finally getting back, but that was a pretty bad time to be a fan of the team.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been a running theme with some of the previous fans that have come on is around it's amazing how many teams have been hit with kind of that financial penalty and that whole kind of instability that brings. Because I guess, this is I don't know it because fortunately Arsenal to this day haven't put me through that particular heartache, but when you are looking at the financial thing, it's nothing that the players can put right on the field. It doesn't matter how well they're playing or however well's going on kind of from the sporting side. So it's almost like you'd rather lose a game against your rival because you can almost justify that than this badly run business thing that's potentially going to put your club out of business.
Basically, yes. But the thing is that during that crisis, some of the players were even getting paid. Like some contracts were getting honored. So I can imagine a lot of the players were playing without any type of motivation. They were just showing up. I mean, just for the love of the club, for the love of the jersey, and trying to put their best out there. But it wasn't 100%. So add that to like basically the club not being able to make any money, and also the fact that you're talking about Universitario, which is like the top team in the country. Like to be in that situation is a bit embarrassing. Like you could imagine that from a team lower bottom table team. I don't want to discredit the other teams that you had here, that you've been talking about here on the pod previously, but they are not at the same level as them. Like that should not be happening with a team at that level. I know nowadays, you see the Barcelonas and some of the Italian teams that are struggling, but that should not be the case.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, turning the page on that one, let's go to the opposite end then. What are some of the highest highs you've had following the team?
So the highest high was back in December 2000. It was 2 games before the end of the season. We were competing for that. We were still in the running for the title, which would ended up being our 3rd title in a row. We did that repeat for the first time in our history. And I remember one of my uncles took me to the stadium to watch a game against Sporting Cristal, which is the other big team in the capital. There's 3 big teams: Universitario, Alianza, and Cristal. Cristal is one of the big ones. And it was basically a game like whoever wins the game is going to go end up winning the title. Because I remember our next game was against one of the teams in the at the bottom of the table, and they also got a very easy game on the last match day. So that was basically the title decider right there. And it was a game that we're playing at home. Our stadium was just open like that season, so packed 80,000 people. We started winning 2-0. They came back. They got a goal back in the 70th minute. I want to say 2-1, and it started getting a bit nervy because Cristal started attacking more, and then we got a goal. We got a third goal in the 85th, 84th minute. I remember the whole stadium went like insane. I remember like my 13-year-old self like hugging like some 40-year-old man right next to me. My uncle like just hugging like random people, like people next to me in front of me crying. Like it was like, to this day, that image is still engraved in my mind. We ended up going on to win the next game. We ended up winning the game 3-2 because they got a goal back in the 90th, but it didn't matter. We still won the game. And I also remember very much, leaving the stadium because back in those days they would allow away crowds. I don't know if you are familiar with the way things work in South America, where for these big derbies they only allow home crowds at games. They don't allow any away crowds for safety reasons. Back in the day, they would allow, there was like one side was all the away team, the away crowd, the other side was, the home team and everywhere else. So I remember they would allow the away crowd to leave the stadium first to give them time to go away so there wouldn't be any type of like fights or anything outside the stadium. But it didn't matter because they would still hang around and wait. And I remember like leaving, getting on a bus with my uncle, and then coming across, the Sporting Cristal fans, and they started like banging at the bus as we were trying to get out of the way. That also stay with me because, of course, they knew that they were not going to win the title. So I can only imagine how annoyed they were. But yeah, I want to say that was probably my highest point supporting the team, watching them basically win the third title in a row.
Just do you remember what the score was against the so-called easy team? Because like after that highest high, that was probably the world's biggest banana skin waiting for the team. That if they then didn't win that final game, was it easy in the end, or did they put you through the heartache on the last day?
No, that one I think that one I no that one we won 5-0 that one.
Okay. So
Yeah.
nice.
But yeah, it could have easily been a trap game, and we would have easily dropped our chances. But no, luckily we were able to like get the score, get the game, and get the title.
Yeah, when it's something like that, to have that runaway 5-0 win, I think that steadies those nerves, especially if the goals are early on in the game. You guys are just partying for the rest of the game then, right? Because there's no jeopardy in it anymore. So
Exactly.
let's dig into this because I was looking at the stats. So it said league title 28 times from 1929 to 2024, and you've won it for the last 2 years running. So depending on how this year goes, you could do another three-peat. But why is the 28 disputed? You said that it was the other fans might say it's not 28.
So it's very funny because you have to go back to 1934, and the way the format of the league was back then, there was like a separate tournament where you could only field reserve players. So imagine you're playing. There's a separate tournament for Arsenal B, Chelsea B, like all the youth players. The winner of that tournament gets some points that end up going to the total of the adult of the first team on their own separate on the second tournament, but the reserve team winner would get like a 5.75 points, like a decimal points. They wouldn't get like 5 points, 6 points. They will get 5.75 points, and the second place will get 5.50. So it was something insane like that. So anyway, come the end of the season, Alianza Lima won the tournament by 0.25 points because I think their team probably, I don't know how they did in the reserve tournament. So Universitario came and complained, saying like they came in second. They were like, we can't lose the tournament by a fraction of a point, a quarter of a point, because number one, that's ridiculous, and number two, that's a tournament that's not even contested by the first team. It's kind of like a irrelevant tournament. That was their argument. The federation, I mean, Alianza Lima was, of course, complaining, saying like, no, I mean, you guys are crazy enough. It is what it is. We won the league. Go away. The federation decided to listen to us, and they were like, okay, fine. You guys go do a playoff game between the two of you, and the winner of that game wins a league, it's going to be the season winner. Then we won the game 2-1. So they gave us a title. But to this day, so officially in the record books, that was our season. But to Alianza Lima and a few others, they're like, you guys didn't really win that season, or you guys won it, because of a technicality, or because you guys decided to complain louder than the others?
Oh wow. Okay, so not only are you rivals because you're in the same city, but you've got that little bone of contention in the past as well that both neither sets of fans are going to agree on who's right on that one.
Yes, and there is that. I mean, there's so many more stories. Like recently, 2023, when we won our first title in almost like 12 years. We basically had to play a playoff game against Alianza Lima, home and away. The second leg was away at Alianza, their stadium. Like I told you, in South America, you play basically when you play away, big derby, you're playing with away with only home fans. There is none of your fans are gonna be there. So tough environment. We ended up winning the game 2-0. So we won the title for that season for 2023. So what was their way of getting back at us? They turned off the lights of the whole stadium. Uh, as soon as the final whistle came through, then they turned off the lights of the stadium. So we're basically, the stadium was in complete darkness, which number one, it's dangerous. Number two, it's very petty. Number three, it's like at the end it didn't matter because there's like pictures, videos of the team celebrating with players going around the field and celebrating, and yeah, it's a very strong rivalry. Like the hatred is real. It's similar, to like Tottenham and Arsenal, like that kind of hatred.
It's kind of what brings the passion to the game, right? You got to love a bit of rivalry. It adds extra spice to the game. When I was looking at the other pieces on the honors list, then so you were the runners up in 1972, and I'm going to butcher this and say it wrong, but the Copa Libertadores. Oh, messed that up.
Probably they well. Good job.
And that's basically the South American equivalent of the Champions League, right?
Basically, yes. The only difference is that there is like, well, nowadays, I mean, back then it was different. The format was different, but nowadays it's like 8 Brazilian teams, 7 Argentinian teams, and 3 teams from the rest of the countries. But yeah, it's the equivalent to the Champions League, basically.
Okay. So I was trying to work out the size of your team to sort of put it into perspective of other teams that I might know and some of the listeners might know. And so I ended up finding like a world club rankings table, and it had you guys ranked at 148th in the world. And to give it some sort of European aspect, clubs just above you, like about 20 places above you, are Wolves from the Premier League, Panathinaikos from Greece are 136th, and Anderlecht of Belgium are just below you in 149. So you're in good company there. It's kind of like not in the upper echelons as you would expect, not with the kind of the Barcelonas and the Real Madrids, and of course, but kind of firmly in there. But what I also noticed then was that 22 of the teams above you are from Argentina and Brazil. I mean, it's just those two countries just absolutely dominate kind of the chart. So it doesn't seem very fair that they take all of the cup spots as well.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and it's unfair not just for Peruvian teams, it's unfair for teams from Chile, Colombia, and everybody else. But it comes down, unfortunately, the fact that Argentinian teams attract more viewers, so do Brazilian teams. Then when you go play in Brazil or Argentina, you're basically guaranteed a full house when those teams play. So they unfortunately have a lot more weight compared to the other countries, so that's probably why they get a lot more birds than the other ones. But this is one of the results. Then when it comes, to look at these comparisons and these rankings, then it's always gonna be a challenge for us to try to make some ground compared to them.
And we're recording here on the Thursday, and you guys played last night against River Plate, which is a team I've heard of from Argentina. They're pretty high up, and it was only 1-0, very very close game. So it's not like the standard is like the Argentinian teams are coming and beating you 5, 6, 7, anything like that. So it seems like it's a very close game.
Not anymore, because there was a time where they would come and they would like come home and they would be like, "This is gonna be a massacre." Like, but now, I mean, with the team that we have, we've been able to build a solid team for the past 2, 3 seasons. Like, yes, we lost, but we're still able to put on a good game. Defensively, we're much solid. That was one of our weaker spots. We got this guy William Riveros from Paraguay, then Di Benedetto, who is Argentinian, but he's actually injured. He didn't play last night. Um, they are very solid center backs. Like Riveros kind of reminds me a little bit, and this might be a stretch, but he kind of reminds me of Van Dijk, like tall guy. He's always going to win the headers. He's dangerous on corners. He goes up or up there. He can score a couple of goals. He's a solid presence in the back of the field. River Plate, I mean, yeah, they're still a good team. Unfortunately, they got a lucky goal. I mean, if you go look at the replays, it was a rebound and that they just found the ball, like were able to like put it in. But we still had a couple of solid chances. We held our ground, and unfortunately, it's a bad start. But hopefully, we can make up some ground in the next couple of weeks.
And the format looks similar to the old Champions League structure before they change it this year. If it looks like it's groups of four, top two go through to the next round. Is that how it works?
Basically, yes, exactly. Top two go through, and then you got the knockouts, and of the Copa Libertadores up to a certain point used to be a home and away game. Now it's just one game at a neutral venue, which I like it more because it's neutral. It's a neutral venue. Before it was like home and away, and usually the one with the getting the second leg would get the a bit of an advantage because they will have a home game.
So you kind of started rattling off a few of the players that played last night then. So who's your favorite player all time throughout your fandom, and who is the sort of players maybe at the moment that kind of get you excited in the current squad?
So all time, it's this gentleman named Jose Luis Carranza. He's a one-man club. He only played for Universitario. He didn't play for any other team. He was a defensive midfield, but he played at right back at certain for some games. So he was mostly known as a defensive midfield. He did not really score any. He wasn't flamboyant. He didn't have any flair. Like if you want to compare him to somebody, maybe like a Roy Keane, like that kind of attitude, that guy that if you're going to a fight, you want to bring that guy with you because he's gonna have your back. He has that aggressiveness. He was very charismatic. He was the kind of guy, that when you're losing 3-0, he will be the one rallying the team. It's like doesn't matter, keep up, let's go, let's try to get at least a goal back. He was a very strong. He had a very strong personality. On the flip side, he was the kind of player that every single time will get a yellow card. So every single game, it wasn't surprising to go look at the team sheet the next in the newspaper and be like, oh, yellow card for Carranza. That was expected.
So very much like Roy Keane then.
Very, very much, yeah. And actually, the kit I'm wearing is a kit that the team released in 2009 that has his DNA code engraved on the kit. I mean, you can barely see it. I'll send you a picture later, but it's a special edition kit that they did in his honor 12 years ago.
Oh wow, okay. So not just was he your favorite player, but obviously was held in high regard to have a kit honored in his name. That's amazing.
Yeah, he was basically we have this thing called garra crema, which basically means like cream claws, like something like that. Like you're basically like our passion. He is the personification of that expression, basically, because he was that guy that would go, and his nickname was actually the Puma, because he was very aggressive, and he also looked like this Venezuelan singer from the 80s who had the same hairstyle, and his nickname was the El Puma, the Puma. So we're like, okay, they look alike, let's name him like that, and he's also has a personality, so perfect. That nickname fits him.
Love the fact he got a nickname because he had the same hairstyle as a singer. But what about the current crop then? As you're kind of looking forward to this season, if you start watching a game, who are you looking out for at the moment?
I very much like Aldo Corso. He's our captain right now, the right back. He's been our team for almost like 10 years. He's very solid out there. Somebody you can always rely on him. Then we have Ason Flores, who had a spell in Europe for a time. Then he came back. He's always going to be like very reliable on the right. Then Andy Polo as well. And then we got this Paraguayan, or I believe Argentinian kid whose last name is Churrin, who played. He actually started last night against River Plate. Uh, I think there is a lot of like potential with him as well. And as I mentioned earlier, Riveros, he's definitely one of my favorites at the back.
Okay, so just from a couple of players that you've name checked, then the players that get you excited are those solid, passionate leaders that get the team going. You're not into the wingers with their fancy tricks. You seem to gravitate towards those leaders, those people that put the tackle in, are willing to get booked and drive the team forward. Is that fair?
I believe, yeah, absolutely. That's 100% accurate. I'm more into, that type of personality, that type of players. I mean, I appreciate very much, the wingers that can, do the flair and the little swerves and the tricks here and there. But to me, it's like, just go do what you're supposed to do, which is, go stop the other team from scoring goals and then score goals yourself.
Now, when I was talking to you about coming on to the pod, and we were sort of saying which games will we look forward to, and I like to try to give a full week for people to sort of join along. So I picked the game on Sunday the 13th when you're at home to Melgar, who are currently top of the table. As we record today, they've won 5 out of 5. You've won 4 and drawn 1. So you're kind of, it's a top of the table clash. But you said although this will have already happened by the time this episode drops on Sunday, on Saturday, it is Lima. It's the big one. So which one? I mean, they're right behind you in the table. They've got 12 points to your 13. So it's two big games coming up back to back here. First, you've got the big rivalry with Lima. Then you've got the top of the table clash with Melgar. So talk us through what you're thinking about these two games.
So Alianza it's playing much better than last couple of seasons. So it's definitely gonna and it's an away game. We're playing at the other stadium, so that's always gonna be tricky. It's never gonna be easy. They got a very solid goalkeeper who is also the starting goalkeeper for the Bolivian national team. So I I still think that we're gonna get a result. I feel that we're gonna see a 2-0 win and we're gonna get away with it. The game against Melgar is also going to be very tricky. That's going to be at home. Melgar is playing really good, as you see on the table. They are undefeated so far. So definitely two very important games that could decide our season this early because they are against teams that are right there in the running. We still have a game in hand, which is definitely going to come into play at some point. But right now we have to focus on getting the results, especially against these direct rivals.
So come on, you put 2-0 down for the Lima game. What's your Melga feeling?
Melbourne, I think that's gonna be tighter. I want to say that's gonna be like probably like a 2-1, like a 3-2 game.
But you're confident of 6 points coming home. That's what you're saying.
I think we got the confidence, especially after last night. Even though we didn't beat River, but we still show that we're playing really well, and we've also been playing really well domestically. I feel that and last Friday, our last domestic game, we won a 3-0, I believe. So I think we got the confidence. We got the players. We don't have that many injuries right now, so we should be able to get the results.
Okay. Now, one thing that caught my eye, and it really doesn't matter. I just found it strange because I kept thinking that my app was broken, that I couldn't see the bottom of the table. But Premier League has 20. You've 19 teams in your top flight.
I believe that came because a couple of years ago they were playing with like how many teams should stay up, how many teams should go down, and they were going back and forth. And at some point we said with 19 teams, and it's also because of the format of the league where we have like the two different tournaments. We have three stages basically. The first tournament is called the opening fixtures, which are playing like your regular fixtures for everybody against everybody in the league. Then the second phase, it's the reverse fixtures, and the winners of each round basically go on and play the final playoff to decide the national champion, unless a team wins, which is what Universitario did last year. They won both rounds, so there was no need for playoff, and they just automatically were crowned season champions.
Oh, okay. So I thought where you were going was a bit like, say, I think the Scottish Premier League do it where, and quite a few leagues do this, where at the midway point, they cut the league in half and the top half plays for the title and the bottom half plays to go down. You don't do that. Two, you basically have two tournaments and then you almost sum it together to see who wins. But if you win both of them, there's no need for a playoff. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. So imagine in the Premier League, you got what they call winter champion. So imagine if the winter champion, wins. Actually, there is a winter championship trophy, and then you give that trophy to the winner of that phase, and then you got your spring champion afterwards, and basically if they play each other, if it's the same team, then they won the whole thing. That's basically how it works.
Ah, cool. Okay, no, I mean, it's different, but it's interesting.
It is, and I think this is a bit more simple because a few seasons ago, we had a more complicated format where it was like, okay, everybody plays against each other to home and away, and then first, third, fifth, seventh, and so on, go to a group stage, and then second, fourth, and so on. They go play a different group stage, and then the way it was just a mess. It was a nightmare.
Oh man, yeah, it sounds like it. Well, time is upon us here, and I just want to say thank you so much for reaching out and coming on. We've just added Peru to the map now, and that's fantastic. So thank you, Renato, so much for coming and doing this.
No, thank you so much, Rob. I appreciate you letting me jump into the pod and talk a little bit about Universitario and hopefully this raises the level of interest on some of the listeners.
Yeah, exactly. And if anyone out there is like Renato that follows a team that's not, say, in inverted commas, one of the normal big teams like from the Premier League, then I don't care. I will literally talk to anybody about any team they support. Like I say, as long as I can find their games on the internet to follow the result along, it's fair game. So it would be great to be able to put a pin in multiple countries around the world. So don't be shy. Do what Renato did. Reach out and come and be one of the next fans on Random Fandom. So yeah, good luck. I'll be following the games, Renato, and thanks again for coming on.
Thanks again, Rob.